Hello children, today I will be teaching you chapter 4, pollination. Okay, before that we will discuss about flowers. As you know, flower is the reproductive part of a plant, and a flower may be found in single or in clusters. Some flowers are very attractive and scented, some are very tiny and unnoticeable. Then a flower stays only for a short period of time and then it develops into a fruit. And fruit bears seeds which on planting produce plants, new plants. Okay? Then flower has four parts. Flower has four parts. They are calyx, corolla, androecium and gynoecium. These four parts are called four walls of a flower. Okay? First, calyx. Calyx consists of sepals. Sepals means this is the first wall of flower. It is leaf-like structures, green leaf-like structures. Its function is protect the flower during the bud stage. And second part, corolla. It consists of petals. Petals are also leaf-like structures, but it is colored and attractive. Petals are brightly colored. Its function is to attract the insects which helps for pollination. Okay. Then third wall of flower is androecium. Androecium is a male reproductive unit of a flower. Male reproductive unit of a flower. It consists of stamen. And stamen has two parts, anther and filament. The stalk of the stamen is filament and the swollen part of the filament is anther. Anther produces pollen grains. These are the male reproductive cells. Okay? And fourth wall is gynoecium. Gynoecium it consists of pistil. Pistil has three parts: stigma, style and ovary. Style connects the stigma and ovary, and stigma is the sticky part of the pistil. Okay, sticky part of the pistil. Ovary consists of egg-like structures called ovules. Egg-like structures called ovules. These are the four walls of a flower. This one I will explain you with a diagram. Okay. Okay, this is the cross section of a flower. This is a cross section of a flower. Here, this one is called pedicel. Pedicel. It is the flower is attached to the branch of the plant. That stalk is called pedicel. Okay, this one is called pedicel. This part is attached to the branch of a plant. That is called pedicel. And the swollen part of the pedicel, this one is called thalamus. This one is called thalamus. Okay. The leaf-like structures, first wall, this one, these are called calyx, sepals. Calyx consists of sepals, leaf-like structures. It protects the flower during the bud stage. And second wall of flowers is corolla. That consists of petals. Petals are brightly colored. Okay. Second wall of flowers. The function is to attract the insects and help in pollination. Okay. And third wall of flowers is androecium. Androecium means it consists of anther and filament. That is called stamen. Androecium is the male reproductive unit of a flower. And it consists of stamen. Stamen has two parts, anther and filament. See the stalk of the stamen is called filament. This is the stalk of the stamen. And the swollen part of the filament is called anther. This anther produces dust-like structures called pollen grains. Pollen grains are the male reproductive cells. Male reproductive cells. Okay. Then this is the anthrecium is the third wall of flowers. And the fourth wall of flowers is gynoecium. Gynoecium consists of pistil. Pistil has three parts: stigma, style, and ovary. The swollen and sticky part of the pistil is called stigma. Here, this one is stigma. Swollen and the sticky part of the pistil is called stigma. And style is the part which connects both stigma and ovary. This one is ovary. Ovary contains ovules. Egg-like structures called ovules. Ovules are the female reproductive cells. Female reproductive cells. Okay. And the ovary becomes when ovary develop into a fruit. After pollination, ovary develop into a fruit and ovule will become a seed. Ovule will become a seed. Okay. This is the part of a flower. This is. Now we'll learn bisexual flowers and unisexual flowers. Okay. Bisexual flowers means some flowers contain both stamen and pistil, both the male reproductive part and the female reproductive part. Male reproductive part is stamen and female reproductive part is pistil. It contains, if a flower contains both stamen and pistil, then it is called bisexual flowers, or it is called hermaphrodite. Okay. And examples are hibiscus, rose, mustard, tulip. Okay. Then unisexual flowers means some flowers contain either stamen or pistil, either male reproductive part or female reproductive part only. Okay, that type of flowers are called unisexual or monosexual flowers. Examples: pumpkin, papaya, cucumber. Okay. Next, we will learn what is pollination. Okay, what is pollination? Pollination means it is the first step of reproduction in plants. First step of reproduction in plants. Reproduction starts with the transfer of pollen grains from anther to the stigma. Okay, that is pollination. That is pollination. Pollination means it is the transfer of pollen grains from anther to stigma. It is the process of transferring the pollen grains from anther to stigma. That is pollination. Okay. And pollen grains are transferred within the plant itself or from one plant to another also. From one plant to another also by some agents like wind, water, birds and insects. Then there are two types of pollination: self-pollination and cross-pollination. Self-pollination and cross-pollination. Self-pollination means transfer of pollen grains from anther to the stigma of the same flower or the different flower of the same plant. Different flower of the same plant. Transfer of pollen grains from anther to the stigma of the same flower or to a different flower of the same plant. Okay. Then cross-pollination means transfer of pollen grains from anther to stigma of another flower. Transfer of pollen grains from anther of a flower to the stigma of another flower of another plant. Different plant to the stigma of a flower of different plant. That is cross-pollination. Okay. And cross-pollination occurs in most flowering plants. It occurs in most flowering plants. So what type of pollination occurs in most flowering plants? Cross-pollination. And self-pollination occurs in bisexual plants. What is bisexual? That means flowers having same flower, flowers having both stamen and pistil. Stamen and pistil in the same flower. That is bisexual. So self-pollination occurs in bisexual plants only. Okay. Then male reproductive cells are pollen grains. Male reproductive cells are pollen grains. Okay, and female reproductive cells are ovules. Male reproductive cells are pollen grains and female reproductive cells are ovules. When the anthers mature, they open to set the pollen grain free. They open to set the pollen grain free. Then this pollen grain fall on the stigma. That is called pollination. After pollination, the flower develops into a fruit. Actually, the ovary of the flower develops into a fruit and ovule develops into a seed. Then I've already explained the self-pollination and cross-pollination, that I'll again explain with the help of a diagram. I'll explain you self-pollination and cross-pollination with the help of this diagram. Okay, you can see two plants. One is having yellow flowers and another one is having pink flowers. Okay, you think yellow flower, if yellow flower has both stamen and pistil, both male reproductive part and female reproductive part on the same flower, then there is a chance of transferring pollen grains from anther to the stigma of the same flower, or there is a chance of transferring pollen grains of anther from one flower to another flower of the same plant. That is called self-pollination. Okay, and cross-pollination is, see, yellow plant has anther, one anther, that means pollen grains from anther of this yellow flower fall on the stigma of this pink flower, that is another plant, pink flower. Then that type of pollination is called cross-pollination. That means different plants, different flowers. Transfer of pollen grains from yellow flower of one plant to the pink flower of the another plant. Okay, to the stigma of the pink flower. That is called cross-pollination. Hope you must have understood this topic. Learn the vocabulary, keep in mind everything. Try to learn the question answers with the help of study materials. Okay. Thank you for watching.